So it was week 6, Wacky Water Fun.
So one day we have a camper run away.
So me and Tia were watching this camper that runs away a lot. And so we were like, oh, we're not going to give him any attention. Like, that's exactly what he wants. He keeps on walking away and looking at us to make sure that we're still watching him. So we're just kind of like doing our thing, but like keeping an eye on him.
So it's almost time for theme time. 3 of us are there. I ran back to do something or to check something. I don't remember exactly what it was. He's like kind of doing these little like, what are they, cutbacks or whatever, like along the field up at Liberty Ridge, just kind of like swerving over here and then like looking to see if we're looking, and he would keep going a little further. So he finally is going like pretty far.
But at the point that he was like 300 yards away and going down a hill and maybe behind some trees, I couldn't really see him anymore. So I decided that it was getting a little bit unsafe. But I also didn't want to chase him because I felt like if I was just frantically running behind him and he was frantically running away, we would just cause a scene. So naturally, I got inside of a vehicle, the white van.
But I come back and I just see them in the van go down to Nisqually and like down the road, and I'm just like, where are they going? So I'm like, should I hop in Burnt and like go the other way? I don't know. Like, I don't know where they're headed because they just took off, and I'm like, it's literally like 11:08. Like, Dollop needs to be here for theme time. So I'll just stand here and wait, I guess.
He was headed down from Liberty Ridge to the picnic shelter.
So I'm standing there looking because I see him like disappear over the little road that goes down to the picnic shelter, and I'm standing just like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? Like, I have to do theme time because Dollop just left me and I don't know where she is, and they went down to Nisqually probably to go get Jessica or something. I'm so confused.
So I decided I'd trick him and make it seem like I was leaving.
And we drive down, and then we are super clever and decide to cut him off by going through the picnic shelter and back up the road up to Liberty Ridge. And he doesn't know that exists.
And he's shocked. He's like, because he thought that I would pay attention to him and chase him in the van.
And so he's like going down the hill, and we like turn off, and then we can't see him for a little bit. And I like look at Tia, and we're both just like, is this a good idea? I don't know, like we might be drawing more attention to him by chasing him with a van, but like we just don't know what to do because he's like gonna run.
So he sees my van coming and he's freaked out.
And he just like stares at the van and is like terrified, and then just turns around and is just like flailing, and we're both just like cracking up and dying.
And then I hear the van coming back, but it's not coming back from the main road. And I start to like see it come up the road. So I see the like top of the van, just very much like a movie. Like, here's the hill, and I just kind of see the top of the van, and then I see the windshield, and then I see the hood, and then I just see the camper in front of it, just running for his life. He's flailing and just running and just like, like watching behind him as I just see this van barreling after this tiny camper. It's probably like the size of a tire.
And I'm just hauling up the hill trying to catch up with this kid, but also not trying to hit him or look like I was gonna hit him. So I'm just chugging along up the hill, and this kid is just running away from me, and I realize that even in a van I might not be able to catch this camper.
And then he turns around and runs behind the van, and so at that point I go running to them, like laughing hysterically but also trying to maintain like a sense of authority. And so we radio Jessica, and she says she's going to bring her portable principal's office.
And she comes up on her quad, and she arrives, so she gets up there. We're all out of our vehicles now. We're no longer chasing campers and vehicles.
So she just walks over to one of the tables, and she's like, come with me, please. And just like, we're gonna go sit down. And he walks over there, and she is like, hi, I'm Jessica, and like goes for a handshake. And he's just this tiny little kid, like giving her a handshake, and then she sits him down.
And somehow convinces him that he should stay at camp the rest of the day and that he shouldn't run away from us anymore.
We felt like it wasn't the best way to handle the situation, but that's the way we handled it, and it turned out okay.
One time, me and Friday, we went to Walmart, and I was 3 aisles over from her trying to buy some lactate pills, and she screams, she's like, you need to come over here right now. And I was like, no, I'm doing something important. And so she runs over with like 5 bottles of Peppa the Pig 3-in-1 bubblegum scented body wash, throws them all in the cart, and she's like, since Petra left, we've been using this to shower off after like guarding and stuff at the end of the day. And so she's like, so we're gonna buy all these. We ended up only buying 3 instead of 5, but originally we were just gonna go put them in the boathouse, and they were just gonna be like, oh wow, how nice, someone bought us more Peppa.
Tater Tot and I were sneaking into the boathouse to leave it when I knocked one down and I shattered the top, and all of the Peppa insides was like spilling out on the bottom of the boathouse.
And she was like, what if we squeezed one out on the floor and just made it look like it was like spewing everywhere. And we were like, let's do it. Left the boathouse, locked it and everything. And as we started walking, I turned around and I was like, okay, what if we put the rest of the peppa around that one peppa?
We set up the 4 other peppas that I had bought around it, and it looked like they had killed it. And the next day, the lifeguards run in, and they're screaming, "No! Somebody killed Peppa!"
And like, they thought that it was whoever did the do thing, which just made it so much better, because then they attacked Grant in the boathouse with Peppa, so.
I kept up the trick that it was like somebody had killed Peppa for about 2 weeks, until one day in the back of the O-Team truck, Gracioso comes up to us, and the lifeguard's sitting there, and he's like, "So, Friday, how did the pig thing go?" And I was like, "Oh, the Peppa murder, you mean?" Like, trying to play it off. And he was like, "Oh, yeah, I didn't want to come right out and say it in case they hadn't figured out yet." Dead silence. All of them just looked at me. And that's how the rest of the lifeguards figured out that I had killed Peppa the pig. But Nadar still doesn't know. And we were keeping it from him for the summer. So, at this point, Nadar, you probably know, I killed Peppa the pig.
Pops and I are canoeing, and we canoe out to the lake. And then we saw this like mini blob out there, and then we're like, "Do you think Nathan knows that this is out here?" And we're like, "You know what? The lifeguards are like, you know, they're working really hard. We should help them out." For some reason, we thought we were being super helpful. We're like, "Oh, we'll tow it back for him because there's no way he knows it," which is stupid. Of course he knows it. We throw it in the canoe, like pull it into the canoe. We start canoeing. And this is like probably the hardest we've ever canoed in our entire lives, and we're canoeing away, and we're not really making any progress. We like weren't moving anywhere, and we were like literally just going in circles, and we didn't know what was happening. But we've pulled it all the way into the boat pretty much, and it's like laying across the boat. We probably rowed for like 10 minutes-ish trying to get this mini blob in, and finally it was like we had to go, like we were running out of time, so we just like left it and rowed back. And later talking to someone on O-Team, and we were like, yeah, so we tried to pull the mini blob back for the lifeguards, and they're like, it's anchored. So we tried to pull the mini blob back for about 10 minutes of like really hard rowing, only to be told that it was anchored the whole time.
For the staff talent show this year, we were practicing our drill that we performed for Independence Day, and I, as a joke, said, what if we did this on stick horses for the talent show to Darude's Sandstorm? And to my surprise, Mela said yes. Apparently I was in charge of getting the music, but I didn't do that. So we get there, and they're ready for us, and they were like, well, where's the music? And I was like, I don't have it. But luckily, Ferguson was in the audience when they asked, does anyone have Darude's Sandstorm on their phone? She raises her hand. She's like, I do. And so that's when Ferguson saved the day.
In the first or second week, I think it was during staff training, I was hanging out with Skywalker and Tater Tot, and we were eating together in the squally. Skywalker gets up to go get more food, and Tater Tot accidentally spills his water. And so when he comes back, his water is dumped, and she'd cleaned it up. And so it was like, Skywalker, she definitely dumped your water, so I'm gonna be a good friend and pour you some more. So I pour him some water, but behind the pitcher, I have the salt container, and I start just dumping it, and as soon as it fills up, put him back down. He definitely saw me and didn't say a word. I was so satisfied with myself, actually laugh crying at the same time, and it was so funny. Thought I gave myself away. No, he just already knew. And he looks at me. He takes his cup of water and gets up in my face and chugs the whole thing while remaining constant eye contact. And I was so uncomfortable. He slams it down and goes, delicious.
Today, actually, I was cleaning Lakeside, and it was strange because back in 2012, I came with my church, and I know the exact room I stayed in, and I got to turn it, so that was really cool.
So we were all sitting around the table at the beginning of camp, just getting to know each other, doing our little ranch staff introductions, and we were talking about one of our hidden talents. So Mela would say oh, I have a brick-breaking back kick, or whatever other random talents we had, and we got to Grant, and he just says, so I can do this thing with my arms where they go from like the back to the front, and we thought he was just gonna like stand up and like step through his arms, but instead he gets behind himself and he starts unhinging, and we all just started screaming at that moment. We're like, no, stop, and yeah, he somehow like managed to break his arm over his head, and we died, and that's it.
So my week 1 cabin in Brightwood was a little difficult, and they weren't really feeling the whole spiritual side of camp. But then post-EOS night, one of my girls came back to me, and she was saying how she never really felt that God was there when she was asking for help, and she was asking for signs, and he was just never showing her signs. And I gave her my favorite kind of analogy to give, which is when God may not open a door, he'll still open a window, and you may not see it right now, but he's working in other ways in your life. And I could just see it click in her eyes, and just that moment of realization of that, oh, God is with her, and he's there for her even if she may not see it, and that she knew that he loved her and he was there for her was just so powerful. And it's what I've always wanted to be able to give these kids as a counselor, and I was so glad to be able to do that.
So one day, I don't remember what week it was, but I was doing the lunch site for Rainier kids, and Graciosa and I were cleaning up one of the tables when the cameras comes up. I'm wearing just a staff shirt. She doesn't know my name. She's like, hi, Gracie. Hi, staff. Then later told a story. A bunch of people laughed. Everyone called me staff for like a week afterwards instead of my camp name. It was fun.
This morning I went up to Paradise Point in White Lightning in the passenger seat, and right as we were getting ready to leave, Tangent's in the front seat, and I just jumped through the window and slide right in, and then we go up, and it was the bounciest, most fun ride I've ever had in a vehicle in my entire life. So that was cool.
Okay, one time I was sitting on my bed for FOB, and one of my girls had to go to the bathroom, and we were at toilet paper, so I told her to go to the depot, and she comes back with like a lump in her shirt, and I didn't want to ask her what it was, so I just kind of let her go on with her life, and I was looking at her, and she took the rock out of her shirt and put it in her backpack, and then pulled the rock back out and said, oh, I forgot I packed a rock.
So my second week at Brightwood, I had these 4 girls who were super close, best friends, and 2 of them at dinner pulled me aside and were like, hey, like, can we talk to you later, like after dinner? And I was like, yeah, of course, like, is this a good or bad thing? And they're like, it's good. And I was like, okay, sounds good. And they were walking back to our cabin after dinner, and one of them was like crying, and I was like, what's going on? Like, let's go talk. And so the 2 of them came and talked to me and sat down, and they explained that like they'd been getting mail all week, and they felt bad that their 2 friends hadn't been, and so they really wanted to give that mail, which was like candy and stuff, to those friends of theirs, but their 2 friends were getting upset with them because they were keeping a secret from them, and they had been so close since they were like babies. And so I was like, hey, well, like, would you still be willing to like share your candy with them if I brought them out and like we explained the situation to them? And they were like, yeah, of course. So I brought the other 2 girls out, and so there was 4 of us, like, and me all talking, and they like were explaining that they really wanted to give them the mail, and like that was the secret, and that's why they wanted to talk to me first to make sure it was okay. And they just like, one of them just like broke down crying because she felt so bad that she got mad at the 2 girls who were like simply just wanting to give them candy. And so then we had like a big group hug, and it was super sweet and awesome.
Over the course of the summer, I've made approximately 2,000 cinnamon rolls, probably more, and that feels like a big accomplishment, and I love it.
So during my 1 week at ranch camp, we were having our counselor meeting, and Loco was explaining this like funny story that had happened when the vet was coming to take care of Yukon. It was like, part of the story was that the farrier had twitched the horse's lip, but I didn't understand what it meant to twitch a horse's lip, so I was like, wait, whose lip twitched? Like, the vet or Yukon? And everyone started laughing, because to twitch a horse's lip means to like pinch it together and then like twist it, I guess, to hold it, like his mouth open. So that's my funny story.
I beat Fiddlesticks in a car race. I'm the better driver.
RK week 2, I lived in a cabin with the other counselors, and one of the counselors, Nuna, hadn't ever either learned how to spell frisbee or hadn't ever like had to spell it out. And so Olaf was sitting on her bed, and it was really, really late at night, and she's spelling it out, and she starts spelling it out, F-R-I-S. She gets the B, and the only letter that she has emphasized this entire time is the B. So then for the rest of the summer, the only time like that we would hear SB as if we found something that also had that started with like SB. So for example, like we had sunflower butter or sprout ball, and from time to time you would just hear people yelling SB, and that was how that all went down. So Nuna learned how to spell frisbee, and now we have a cool inside joke.
RK, we were playing around near the playground, and we were playing with this kid, and we were playing like this weird version of Ninja where we had superpowers. And Bagel, she showed us her superpower, which was turning into a water monster. So her transformation went a little something like this. And something like that. It was literally the best.
When I was staying with Tadpole, Fiddlesticks, King, Gucci, and there was someone else, I can't remember, sorry whoever that was. I had a dairy-induced poop, which is really bad. So I was just out of it on the toilet, and King and Fiddlesticks were in the boxcar. They thought it'd be funny to slide Tim's jalapeno potato chips under the door while I was pooping.
There's so many!
And that just like made me go into like hysterical laughing fits. And then all of a sudden they stop. It was like 5 minutes of nothing. And then rapid fire. All these granola bars slide underneath the door and like hit me in the feet.
What is happening? What? What?
Me and Pops got to be lifeguards after the 4 weeks of kids camps, and we were struggling with practicing our boat saves, so we were like, let's do push-ups, and then we never did, and it was her last day, and so we were going to get ice cream, and we just like stopped in the parking lot and did one push-up.
I was walking back from the Rainier Kids big game with my campers, and as usual I yelled Nunes Troop, and one of my campers just was walking, and he was basically talking to himself. His name's Pat, and he's like yelling 2 weeks later, Nunes Troop, and then he said 7 years later, Pat's Troop, and that just like made me like, oh wow, we're actually making an impact in these kids' lives where they like really want to be where we are. And I asked him why he wanted to be a counselor, and he said, I really want to be iced.
My story is more really of a fun fact. I just want to let you guys know that if you eat a big dinner, you're going to be hungrier in the morning because your stomach expands overnight. That's all.
T-Rock week 1 at Desert Island, sitting around the campfire after all the campers had gone to bed. I think Lava, Noname, and a few others were there. Anyways, there were just radio calls going on for about an hour about finding Forehead's radio, and probably like most one I've had here.
At the program staff breakfast that is happening currently, Cricket killed a rabbit. I don't think a lot of people knew about it, but vicious.
So when I was hanging out with Salt Crew, part of my job was to manage the bathroom for the RK kids during the times when they're changing in and out of their swimsuits. So I would stand in the doorway and let the kids know when there's an open stall that they can go change into. So there's this one kid who's been like especially like noisy and crazy as he's changing in the stall. So he finally finishes changing and he comes out of the stall and he makes it almost to the doorway, and I'm not really looking at him. I'm like, all right, no, you can go to the canteen or buy candy or whatever. And he gets to the doorway and he stops and he looks at me and he's like, I think I need to try again. And I look at him, and he has both his legs through one pant hole of his shorts, and the other one just like hanging there flopping. And I don't know how he made it that far, because he would have had to like waddle or hop, or I don't know what he did. Sent him back to the stall, he tried again, did it right, and then he went on his way.
I was praying once with a bunch of counselors, and I said, I'll start, and I'll end. And then started praying, and then after I finished praying, and to start it, I then began to end it. I gave 2 seconds of pause. I was like, dear God, blah, 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 blah. Thank you, God, for this time that we had to spend. And everyone got really uncomfortable, and ever since then, every time DOS rolls around and we go to pick who's going to start and end, they always get uncomfortable and afraid that if I double it up, that I won't be able to start and end.
Okay, so basically, like, we were playing Goons, and I'm with Fergie and Nuna, And then we're at the end, right? And Tove comes by and King Richard and is like, game over, and we're like, Tove, give us a ride. So we like hop in the back of the truck, and I'm wearing the lederhosen, and then like Rue and like Brago come, and Rue's wearing this like giant inner tube, and we're all just like, all dressed up. Well, before that, we were like, like, let's go get the cake that's at back table. So we run and get the cake, and then we run back, and we're in the back of the truck. So basically, we're in the back of this truck in our funny costumes, eating cake, and then, like, it's just blasting Stranger Things music, and I just thought it was just kind of the greatest moment ever.
So basically, during week 4 of camp, when we did Joyful Awakening, we went in there with and a megaphone, and then also like a trombone and just a bunch of musical instruments. And we just made a lot of noise. And then afterwards, we all went to the middle of the lower room, and we just had a huge dance party with limbo and just people going to the middle, and it was a lot of fun.
So one morning when I was setting sprinklers at Liberty Ridge, I was trying to put the hose, hook it up to the nozzle up there, and I snapped the nozzle off. So I had to go shut water off at camp and wake Smock up on his off day to get him to help me shut off that valve, which was quite the chore. Needless to say, that was an eventful morning.
My favorite story from this summer was when me and my buddy Nadar were trying to get a log round down a hill, and we decided it'd be best to roll the log round down the hill, and I was standing at the bottom, and Nadar rolled the log round down the hill, hit me, I hit a tree, and it hit me again. And that was a fun day. A painful day, but a fun day. And I still have the scar, so.
So my 1 week of counseling at ranch camp, I had 2 campers who were really obsessed with my tattoos and the thought of designing a tattoo for me. So they decided that my new tattoo was going to be one of their faces on one butt cheek, one of their faces on the other butt cheek, and then in the middle, in the crack, was going to say moist crevices. And then Davida reminded them, and they shared that with the entirety of chapel, and it was quite embarrassing, but also so funny.